Hey, are you a business owner, entrepreneur, or professional? If so, we want you to apply to be a featured guest on our show. My name is Adam Torres, and I host the Mission Matters series of podcasts. I've recorded over 3,000 episodes, and we are just getting started. How do you know if you'd be a good guest to be on the show? Well, only one way to find out, and that's to apply, but I'm going to let you in on a little secret. We want guests that have a story to tell, guests with a brand, a product, or a service that can benefit my audience of listeners. If this sounds like you, go to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. I'd love to talk to you and get to know more about your story. Again, head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, now let's get into the show. Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and you can follow me on Instagram at AskAdamTorres. And if you'd like to be a guest on the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, so today I have Charles Tyrrell on the line, and he's an attorney and founder over at Tyrrell Law. Charles, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, so we're going to get into Tyrrell Law today. We're going to talk about, obviously we had some administration changes, and there's some things that people may want to know in terms of how this would affect immigration law. We'll get into your practice, what you're doing, and some of the things that make what you're doing unique, also around business planning and strategy. So a lot of different things to cover, but just to get us started. So Charles, we at Mission Matters amplify stories for entrepreneurs, executives, and experts. That's our mission here. Charles, what mission matters to you?
What matters to me is that I'm helping people leave their home country. And people don't leave their home country because they want to. A lot of times people are leaving their home country because they have to. And there's a lot of challenging things when you're trying to move to another country. Just think about moving from one house to another house, or moving from one city to another city. Moving from one country to another country can be very disrupting on someone's life. And our goal and our job is to try to make it as simple and easy as possible, giving the people that are moving to the US the best chance of success.
Man, that's great. And I love bringing mission-based businesses and entrepreneurs to our audience. So let's just dive right in. So how'd you get started on this path, really as a lawyer, but also specifically to choose the route of immigration law?
Well, I got into law because, honestly, it was because of my dad. I always felt that my dad wanted to be an attorney, and he never did. He graduated from college, went to the Vietnam War, came back and served as a banker for his whole life. And he did say that if he had the choice, he would have gone to law school. So, I just felt like going to law school would be something that he would have been proud of. And so that's why I went into law school. After law school, I started working in civil defense. I represented the insurance companies, the big bad insurance companies. And then I represented the cruise lines. And it was not rewarding work for me, because basically all you were doing was you were trying to put a money figure on somebody's injury. Mm-hmm. And I just didn't enjoy it, because a lot of times as a defense, you're trying not only to minimize it, but a lot of times even when someone was seriously hurt, you were trying to get the case thrown out. Mm-hmm. So I just never found true joy in it. And I remember a friend of mine from high school had come to visit me in Florida. And I picked him up, and we were driving back to my place to see my family, for him to meet my family. And he's asking me what I'm doing. Mm. And I'm explaining to him, and I'm halfway through. And I turned to him and said, dude, I'm sorry. I'm depressing myself as I'm explaining to you what I do. And my ex-wife at the time was just starting a brand new law firm because she had been doing immigration law since we graduated from law school together. And I said, and we both thought about it and said, why don't we work together? And that's how I got into immigration law. And I could see that I was actually making a difference in people's lives. I wasn't complaining or arguing about how much their injury was. Instead, I was trying to help them develop a new and better life, and it was more rewarding for me.
Wow, what a great story. So tell us a little bit more about Tyrrell Law and what you're doing. So I know immigration law, but give us some more specifics. So are there particular countries that you're working with more than others in terms of immigrants or coming to the United States? I mean, give us a little bit more of the nuts and bolts of what's going on at Tyrrell Law.
Well, Tyrrell Law we do pretty much any type of immigration law. We do focus primarily right now on South America, but we're also branching out into Eastern Europe. We should be going into Asia very shortly with clients based on the relationships that we were making with other individuals and other people. What we primarily focus on is business-based immigration. Primarily, as with you, Adam, we're looking at entrepreneurs. Yeah. We want people who are looking to develop and build businesses in the United States and to understand what it takes to actually build a business in the US, but because they've built businesses in their home countries as well. And we want to help them because we realize that bringing these foreign nationals into the United States and creating these businesses helps the US economy. And it helps with unemployment. It helps with a variety of different things because these entrepreneurs are creating jobs for American workers. And that is something that, especially during these times, is what we desperately need.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I sometimes think about this because I have some friends that are immigrants and they started businesses in the United States. And for some of them, English wasn't their first language. It was something else. And I always think about it like it's so hard to be an entrepreneur in general, just like in general. Like, I mean, this is finally, I finally struck a little bit vein of gold with Mission Matters. So we're a successful business. But like, when I think about like the other 19 that I started since I was probably like 12 years old that failed miserably, I'm always thinking like being an entrepreneur is hard. So to be an entrepreneur and to immigrate to another country, and if it's not your first language too, like all these things, like I would argue like entrepreneurs have a unique challenge in general, but now you add these other complexities like working with a firm like Tyrrell Law, like you want to make sure that who you're working with understands you. Like tell us a little bit more about that entrepreneurial journey and what that looks like.
Well, I could go into my entrepreneur journey and it is tough. It is difficult. I did build a very successful practice with my ex-wife. When I got divorced, I didn't know what to do. And then I decided to start my own firm, and I'm having to restart from scratch. And it's very difficult. But the good news is I learned everything that I learned from mistakes with the old firm. And I learned positive things from the old firm that has given me a heads up that other people probably don't have. Yeah. But with foreign nationals, it is difficult. And the main thing is to try to find what I tell them, and what I think makes us a little bit different is I'm trying to understand what they like, what they want to go into. Because I found and believe that if you're passionate about something, you're going to be able to weather the storm. And there's going to be storms. There's not just going to be storms there's going to be storms in a variety of different things. You're going to have storms with your business. You're going to have storms with the personal aspect. You're going to have storms with changing of cultures, because the culture of the United States is very different than, let's say, the culture of Venezuela or Argentina or Russia or Japan. Yeah. Even Australia or the UK. I mean, each country has its own culture, so that in itself gives challenges. So the main thing is just try to guide people through those challenges, listen to what they like, what they want, what they feel will make them successful, and then giving them ideas. It's always the client's choice, but always trying to walk through them step by step. For example, I've had clients that, maybe they're an engineer, but they enjoy baking. And so you sit there and you talk to them and say, well, if you could do baking, would you? Yeah. And they're like, yeah, I would. Okay, well, why don't we try like setting up a restaurant, selling your goods? You have to understand that a restaurant's going to take some time, but are you willing to put in the effort? Are you willing to put in the work? yeah, if I could do nothing but baking all the time, I will do it. And, they put all their effort into it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a variety of different things. I'm just thinking back on so many different clients that we've had over the years. Immigration is going a little bit off of entrepreneurs, but immigration has a variety of different aspects to it.
Mm-hmm.
And there are literally visas from the letter A to the letter V. And
I didn't know that.
Each one of those has different categories and subcategories.
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm meeting with a potential client, and I will say that I learned this from my ex-wife,
mm-hmm.
you want to try to determine what they like, what they enjoy.
Mm.
And we had a client, and we actually, at the old firm, we actually did very well with skydivers. We were able to get skydivers visas to the US.
What?
And the way that we got into the skydiver thing was just asking the person what he did and finding out. And then like, oh, you're a skydiver. Oh, and tell me a little bit about that.
Unbelievable.
Found out that like he was this world-class skydiver,
Mm-hmm.
and turned around and said, if you could do skydiving, in the United States and get paid and get a visa for it, would you do it?
Mm-hmm.
I would jump at the chance. Okay, well,
Unintended. I jump at
that
the
opportunity to do that.
I can't take you right now, Charles. Pun intended. Come on, jump at the chance.
I didn't even think about that.
Come
as you just
on.
that, but
you weren't setting me up on that. That's gold.
No, I did not. I totally didn't even consider that. But it was jump at the chance. Very. But that is, we really want to get to know the person. We really want to get to know. Then we don't want to develop a strategy just because somebody may meet and check off certain boxes for a type of visa.
Mm-hmm.
That may not be best for them. And we have to really know who our client is to determine what is best for them. And that is something that we do differently, because a lot of attorneys will just sit there and say, okay, I can charge the most money with this visa. That's
Mm-hmm.
what I'm going to push.
Mm-hmm.
Me, it's like, let's see what you can do. And what is your end goal?
Mm. So let's so you also, so over and above what you do is obviously as an attorney and working on the immigration law side of things, you're also working with a select few of your clients on the business planning and strategy side of things of like their businesses. I mean, tell us a little bit more about that, because I think that's really unique in the space. I feel like most people kind of stay away from that. But if I'm just thinking out loud on this one, I'm like, okay, I'm an immigrant. I'm coming to the United States. I want to work, number one, with an entrepreneur. That would be the goal, which you are an entrepreneur with your own practice. But number two, somebody that has some experience in entrepreneurship, but also like that gets me. So you're checking all those boxes off already just based off of, doing what you do. But now you're also on the business planning and strategy side. I mean, that's definitely different. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, the business plan and strategy side is some of the visas do require you to provide a business plan and plan out for the next 5 years. And a lot of immigration firms will hire and send the business plans out to somebody else. I, for whatever reason, actually enjoy writing business plans. It sounds weird, but I
that
actually
sounds
do.
Very weird.
Because I always try to figure out and think about what would make, if I was running the business, what would make me different and what could give me success. And so I write it like that, and I give it back to the client and let them review it and let them, I give a questionnaire based on what they want, but I also, put what they want in, but I also try to figure out my own things.
Yeah.
And there have been times where I've had clients review the business plan and say, I've never thought of that. That is an amazing idea. And they actually implement it. So I had a client years ago that was going to open up a gelato, the little gelato place in Miami. And and I'm sitting there thinking about it, and it's a very trendy part of Miami. A lot of young professionals, a lot of people that work downtown that have money. And I'm like, okay, well, what's going to set this apart from other places? And I thought, you know what would be cool is if there was a gelato place that served after dinner drinks. And what I mean by like after dinner drinks are like port or what is it, Grand Marnier, things like that. Just something that would not getting like a full liquor license, but getting like some of these after not serving beer because I don't think you really want to drink beer with gelato.
No.
But like amaretto or
come on.
or something
You're making
like
me
that,
thirsty over here, Charles.
That you could do. And so I wrote that in the business plan. And the guy looked at him and said, "This is brilliant." But he had to go out and figure out how to get the liquor license and all other kind of stuff to do it. But, it was just something that I thought of. And he was like, "Yeah, this is something that we should do." And I try to implement that in every single business plan that I write.
No, that's awesome. That's definitely a value add, and you're making me thirsty over here. I'm a fan of amaretto after dinner, a little dinner drink. Come on, man. This is a family show number 1, but it's early. Come on, where I'm recording this in LA. So what kind of, you mentioned that you've been working with, with a lot of people from Latin America, Russia, you're now expanding to Asia. Like what is typically, and also entrepreneurs, of course, you work with, but you work with other people other than entrepreneurs, but one of your niches. So what's typically, do you find, personality wise or otherwise, like who's normally a good fit? Like who normally just kind of meshes with you and your firm? Because at the end of this, I'll give you the opportunity to leave contact information and all that other good stuff. But I do like to get a feel for like, who's a good fit?
The ideal client is pretty much what you're asking for.
Exactly.
Everybody has an ideal client. And my ideal client, someone in their late 40s, early 50s. They have a family, they're married, they have children, they have their own successful business in their home country. And they are looking at their circumstances and realize, for whatever the reason, be it political, monetary, whatever it is, they can't go any further in their home country. They want to succeed and they want to move forward and they want to truly reach their potential, but they know they can't do that in their home country. So now they're looking to move to the US, and they have the means, they have the knowledge, they have the know-how, and they have the grit and the patience to know that it's going to take some time to truly reach what they need in the US, because they have to start over from scratch. And they're willing to listen. They're willing to take advice. They're willing to trust the people that they hire to do their jobs and give them the best path forward. Those are the people that I feel are easiest for me to work with and have the best chance of actually succeeding in the US.
Man, that is well said, and I get it. The reason why I asked you that question so specifically was because I know there's people watching this that match that, and the people that need to hear that are going to see this, and they're going to know you're talking to them. So I mean that's big time, and I know that you're doing a lot around education too. So I know like Facebook, other things like that. Like you're really taking this above just your day-to-day and helping, and you're already doing, again, the business plan strategy. That's in its own thing in itself, but you're also now providing like content and education for free out there, which I think is also pretty unique. Tell us a little bit more about like your concept on providing this and where people can interact and get more information on it, because this is also a pretty big deal.
Well, my website is very, very dense. It has a lot of information on there. And my website is www.tntvisa.com. And the website goes through, and it actually has probably close to 20 frequently asked questions based on the different types of visas and different types of immigration processes. I don't do this every week, but I am pretty consistent with it. Almost every week, I write a blog about information that is coming up with immigration. So for this past week, I wrote about 2 Supreme Court rulings in immigration. Even though it doesn't really apply to what I try to do, it's still information that people need to know and understand, because one of the recent rulings had to do with TPS, temporary protected status, and whether or not, if you have temporary protected status, can you then become a resident of the U.S. while in the U.S.? And the Supreme Court unanimously said, if you did not enter the United States legally, even if you have TPS, you cannot change and become a permanent resident in the U.S. You would have to go overseas to do it, which has its own problems in itself. But the reason why I wanted to get that out there is because a lot of people spend a ton of money hiring coyotes to bring them into the US because they feel, hey, I just need to get in the US and I'm okay.
Yeah.
Hiring a coyote to get in the US is going to make your life that much more difficult, because you are constantly afraid of getting caught, constantly afraid of being sent back, being deported. And so I just want people to know, and it doesn't necessarily, you don't have to hire me, but just, reach out to other attorneys, reach out to people to see if there's other options outside of using a coyote. Because if you enter legally, you have a lot more rights and a lot more options than if you do illegally. But so my website has a lot of information on there, and I do the blogs. And then once a week on Wednesdays, about 10:38 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So in California, that would be 7:38 a.m. I'm sure you're not up for that, Adam. But,
I am actually, but go ahead.
I stream on Instagram at Tyrrell_Law_PSC, at Facebook at ChrisTyrrell.law, on Twitter at Law_PSC, and at YouTube, TNT Visa, one word, TNTVISA, one word. I stream about 10-minute video that discusses some topic in immigration. My social media will give you information about what that topic is going to be that week. Today, I'm sure you didn't know about this, Adam, but there's a religious visa for ministers or religious workers, and there's a way for the people who do a minister or religious workers can actually get green cards or permanent residency in the U.S. if certain criteria is met. And so that was what I did my video on today.
That's awesome. And so I know that there's some obviously administration change, right? Like there's always going to be changes that are happening. Like what are you seeing in your world in terms of administration change? Like how did that affect immigration law? Just from your vantage point.
I would say that if anybody who practices immigration law said that things were great under President Trump, they would probably be lying to you flat out.
Got it.
I would say that President Trump made things very, very difficult for foreign nationals to come into the United States. And he issued a lot of policies that were very difficult. In the past couple of weeks, we have seen President Biden, we haven't seen him do it, but the United States Citizen Immigration Services has been rescinding a lot of the policies that were under President Trump and going back to policies that were implemented through President Obama. So there are certain things on that is making things a lot easier. It will take some time. It's not going to happen overnight, but I believe that rescinding those things are going to open the doors a little bit for more people. President Biden has also expanded things that President Trump was trying to cut off. For example, President Trump tried to cut off temporary protected status for a lot of countries. President Biden has said to stop that. DACA, the Dreamers, was something that President Trump famously tried to end, and President Biden has requested that it be extended and reinstated. It was never really taken away because the courts shot it down, but he's doing things to keep DACA in place. And then he has a comprehensive immigration reform bill, and there's some other bills that are being put into place by Congress that, if they get passed, will drastically change how immigration will go this forward. So things are loosening up. And I believe that when the current pandemic goes down, things will get a little bit easier for people to come to the U.S.
Well, Tyrrell, first off, thank you for the update, and thank you for coming on the show. I mean, I love bringing mission-based businesses and entrepreneurs to our audience, and I want you to, I know you left it before, but I want you to leave it again, give our viewers a chance to write it down and to go visit. So your website, if you can give us that one again, and also leave your Facebook page again, because I know you gave an update just now on some of the things that are happening just in general. And I know, and I want people to check out that weekly show that you're doing also. So let's leave that website one more time and that Facebook page, please.
Okay. The website is www.tntvisa.com. The Facebook is at christyrrell.law. And it also streams on Instagram at Tyrrell_law_PSC, or YouTube, TNTVISA, all one word, and at law_PSC for Twitter. So awesome. It streams instantaneously to all four websites. I will say, Adam, unfortunately, it doesn't always work with Facebook. I don't know why, but I get kicked out of Facebook every now and then when I'm trying to. Hey,
don't say that too loud. They can hear us. It's okay. We all love Facebook. It's fine. You might be watching this right now. They can hear us, Tyrrell. I'm concerned. No.
Well, it worked today. It didn't work 2 weeks ago. It worked today. It worked 3 weeks ago. So, God willing, everything is fixed. And I just have to make sure that my IT guy goes in before I do it to make sure everything is okay.
Awesome. Well, Tyrrell, again, thank you for coming on the show today. It's been a pleasure. And to the audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. Hope you got a lot of value out of this. Hope you learned a lot. I sure had a lot of fun. Hope you did too. Don't forget, especially if you're a first-time visitor, hit that subscribe button. We definitely want you to come back and re-engage. We have more entrepreneurs, business owners, and experts, all mission-based individuals and companies. Want you to definitely share those with you. And Tyrrell, thanks again for coming on the show. It has been a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Adam. I really enjoyed it.